What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Chiss Ascendancy. I was going to let you guys say it there, but...
And then you didn't.
I threw you a curveball and you looked at me, so I hit myself. It was funny.
I don't know if you would understand how small that pause was.
Sorry. Guys, welcome back to...
The Chiss Ascendancy.
Episode 12. Today, Samuel, what are we talking about?
Today, we will be discussing the lids of Star Wars.
The lids of Star Wars.
What do we mean by that, Josiah?
Well, we mean the lids, meaning... Okay, here's what happened. Every week we talk about what are we going to talk about. And I said, you know what? Let's do something a little bit more silly, a little bit something different. And for whatever reason, the first thing that popped in my head was hats. The hats of Star Wars. But then we start talking about helmets. Is a helmet a hat? What came first, the chicken or the egg? You decide. Is a helmet a hat? Let us know what you think in the comments. But we were like, we couldn't decide. It does count, but it also covers your face. So
yeah, and then we were like, well, maybe we could say the headgear of Star Wars, but then
that's
you
too
gotta,
bulky.
Yeah, that's cumbersome. That sounds dumb.
So Samuel came up with lids.
Lids, the lids of Star Wars.
So the lids of Star Wars. Here's the beautiful thing about Star Wars. You can love something for the smallest reasons.
Yeah.
In Star Wars. Think about this. My favorite character, Boba Fett. Right? Now, in official canon, there's not a whole lot going on. You know, I read a ton of books and comics and stuff that's now not canon anymore, whatever. But in the movies, you know, obviously he's the best bounty hunter. He catches Han Solo and them on Cloud City, helps Vader, all that stuff. But so many people just recognize Boba Fett because of the Mandalorian armor. Right. So many people who aren't even Star Wars fans, they know who Chewbacca is because he's a giant, Bigfoot-looking dude with a little satchel across his chest. You know, so many people know who Darth Vader is. No pockets. So many people know who Darth Vader is just by sight. And so the beautiful thing about Star Wars is that you can love something for the silliest reason. Here's an analogy. When I was growing up, one of the first cars I wanted was any car that as soon as you open the door to get in, do you guys remember this in the 90s? There was a seat belt that was already attached to the door.
Oh, yeah.
And all you had to do was just pull it across. None of this mangling over here. You just pull that bad boy across. And when I was like in pre-K or first or second grade, I was thinking, that's the most practical thing that's ever happened to a car. That's the kind of car I want. And as you get older, you get more picky. And I feel like as Star Wars fans, we've done that. The last couple of 5 or 6 years, we're getting more, well, it should be this. Well, it should be this. Well, why isn't this? And we all, so many people, I did it, but so many people hated it when George was in charge. And then he let it go, and everybody was so excited. And now that he's not in charge, people are upset. People are just upset in general. But let's get back to that first grade seatbelt car style and talk about the lids of Star Wars.
Let's talk about it.
Let's do it. So, we didn't put a list together. We're just going to ramble for like 30 or 45 minutes. You're welcome.
Yeah.
So, okay, you go first. What are some hats that stand out to you?
Okay, so the first, Josiah said the hats of Star Wars. My mind was like, that's stupid. That was my first reaction. Wow. And then I was like, wow.
Cool. See, there are cool hats. That's what happened.
Well, yeah, no, I was like, that's kind of a dumb topic. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's try it out. And so I was just thinking about it. And the very first thing that came to my mind with all the things out there was my boy Embo.
The Clark Griswold of bounty hunters. You remember Christmas Vacation where Clark Griswold greases up the little sled?
I'm with you now.
Embo rides on his
They have nothing in common as persons, but yes, Yes, I see where you're going.
I was saying it's a utility. It's a great. Yeah. You can do many things with it.
So Imbo, if you don't know, he's in the Clone Wars a lot. You know, he's one of their token bounty hunters. They're like, we need some bounty hunters in this episode. And they're like, put Imbo in there. Yeah. You know, he's just in the background.
It doesn't hurt that that's Dave Filoni's favorite bounty hunter.
Right. He's super cool. Well, he's in like that team of 5. You know, you got Dingard, you got the chick with the metal boa that she's like. I don't know what that thing's called. At all. You don't know? She's got the little horns.
Sugi?
Maybe. If I knew her name, I would have used it.
I think it's she's a Zabrak.
No, different one. She's pink.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know that.
And then you got I think Bosk is in that for a while. You got Aura Singh, but Aura Singh's kind of doing her own thing. Anyway, he's amongst them, and he's got this.
He's got the cool dog.
Yeah, he's got that cool dog. The ones that they use in the what do they call that? Jedi prison, the Citadel.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So he's got this cool oval-shaped helmet that doubles as a shield and triples as a weapon. So you see
and quadruples as a sled.
Yes. We'll get fixated on that and then we'll move on. So you'll just see him, he's
it's kind of a boomerang of sorts.
Yeah, it's like Captain America's shield, except cooler because it's in Star Wars. And that's coming as a big Marvel fan.
You heard it here first, folks.
Big Marvel fan.
I'm proud of you.
All right, thank you.
Wonder Twins activated.
Yeah, the rings hit. So, yeah, I just like it. You see me, he's doing like 360 spins, the kinds that you see figure skaters do, and you're like, how are they moving all those directions at once? And he's deflecting, blaster bolts with his helmet, or he's throwing them at people, and then you see him like he's picked his helmet back up, and he's like holding it on his head. I don't know. It's just really cool.
And when I first, when I was younger and I first saw the Clone Wars, I was like, wow, this alien's got a terribly shaped head. That's got to be super, super annoying and awkward. Right. I thought it was a part of him.
Right.
But then he was like, and I was like, oh, it's a hat.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
I think everything about him is cool. He's a cool character, but his helmet, I don't know. It's probably like the most versatile hat that we see in all of Star Wars.
And he's kind of a. Here's how I see Imbo, without getting off into our favorite bounty hunters. Imbo is like the Plo Koon of bounty hunters.
He's a man of few words, but he's always there. Yeah. And even in the Clone Wars, I think he's like number 2 or 3 in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. And he's cool because...
Yeah, you never see him like leading those.
He seems to kind of have a high moral code.
Yeah.
He uses a crossbow. Similar. Which is pretty cool. Not the same as Chewbacca's, but similar. And he uses throwing knives. And he uses a freaking hat.
And he uses a dog.
And he has a dog.
Some bonus points.
In the Aftermath trilogy by Chuck Wendig, he's still alive in that time.
Nice.
I think him and Dengar talk, or him and somebody talks, have a conversation. So Imbo's still alive at that point. So we could still see him.
You think an Imbo for Mandalorian Season 2? Maybe. That'd be cool.
Timestamp, because Dave Filoni, that's his favorite bounty hunter. They said we're going to see Skywalker era characters. Clone Wars counts.
Man, we're brilliant.
You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here freaking first. Okay, so Imbo, all right.
All right, we'll move off of that. I've talked about that enough, but I think he's super, super, super cool. His hat is very cool.
One of the coolest things about Imbo's hat is that he uses it for things.
Right.
Now, some people have hats
and a tool
that they just look cool.
And a Michael Jackson sun umbrella. Stay out of that sun. You got sensitive alien skin, boy.
Allegedly. Okay, so moving right along. Now I'm thinking about freaking South Park Michael Jackson.
Welcome to Neverland.
So, all right. So, this guy uses his hat for nothing except for cool looks, and I'm talking about the Western
looks that could kill.
The Western Duros, everyone's favorite bounty hunter during the Clone Wars period, Cad Bane. Now, the coolest thing about Cad Bane is his voice, to me. And there's this one part where, when you first see Cad Bane burst on the scene, he's like, "Attack the Republic Senate, no problem." Like,
yeah, right.
Steal a Jedi holocron, cost you double. Like he's just doing all this crap that I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, this guy's got
He's
got a strong spinal cord.
We're on Coruscant. Might as well take it over.
Yeah.
He's like breaking into the prison.
He kidnaps the Chancellor at one point.
Kidnaps the Chancellor before Grievous. Let's get that on record.
Yeah. He steals a Jedi holocron, and then he takes the holocron.
Which everybody thought undoable.
He takes the holocron that has all the potentially Force-sensitive children, and he goes and he steals them for Sidious.
Right under the nose of the Jedi.
And so anyways, he's a cool, super cool dude, and one of the coolest things about him is he's a very much like a Western character, and he's on Coruscant. So you have, for those of you who don't know as much or the names of the planets and stuff, Coruscant is the planet that in the prequels,
it's space New York.
That's where the Senate is. That's where I almost said Congress, the Jedi Council, all that stuff. That basically, in Episode 1, Rick Oley, the pilot that says that's somebody else. But he's the pilot from Episode 1 that flies the Naboo cruiser, and he says that the whole planet is a city. Mm. That's the first time you really hear about it. In books from previously, like in the Thrawn, in the Thrawn trilogy, they talk about seeing mountains in the distance. Yeah. So that's a cool little thing. But they turned it into a complete city when the movies came out. So that's the planet we're talking about. So it's very highfalutin, stock trading, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then there's also the underworld aspect.
Yeah. And then in the middle of all this,
it's like thousands and thousands and thousands of levels.
A freaking blue-skinned Clint Eastwood character coming in with a dope voice and a cool hat. And the coolest moment from Cad Bane's hat is he's got the really big one, right? And then he loses it or whatever.
He gets arrested. He's in prison, so he's doing the prison breakout. This is in the arc where Obi-Wan fakes his death.
Yeah. So Obi-Wan is the character Rako Hardeen, and there's a thing called the Box.
Who also, by the way, side mention, Obi-Wan's helmet.
Yeah.
That was Boba Fett concept art. Very cool.
Yes. I love that Dave Filoni and those guys are like, oh, you guys didn't end up using this? We'll use it. Because for the average fan, it's like, oh, that's a cool helmet. But for someone like us that's like really into it, we're like, I've seen that before.
Right.
So you got the episode called The Box. And it's basically an elimination game where it's like, we're going to have our best bounty hunters. They're going to come in and we're going to basically decide who's going to go on this heist ultimately by who can stay alive in the box. And there's these Ithorian twins. Ithorians are the Hammerhead characters from the Cantina. I guess we'll put a picture of those guys in there. But they're there and they've got kind of a cowboy get up, right? And you see Cad Bane talking to Rako Hardeen, Obi-Wan's fake character, and Cad Bane's got a regular sized hat.
Yeah, and he's giving the Ithorian the side eye.
And he's like, I think that him and Obi-Wan are talking, and he kind of like shuts Obi-Wan up, walks directly over to the guy and goes, "Where'd you get that hat?" And the Ithorian pulls his gun on Cad Bane, and Cad Bane shoots him through the heart. You see the laser go out the back of the guy. He falls to his, he's dead instantly, obviously. Yeah. And the hat's flowing down like a feather. And he picks it up, throws the trashy small one aside, puts the big one on. The poor other Ithorian
everybody's over there like
yeah.
Everybody's looking at him like, what the frick, bro? And he's like, wow, it was a nice hat.
Yeah, well, just take the punchline. Go for it.
You talk too long, I'm taking the punchline.
You. Next. It was a nice hat.
It was a nice hat.
Okay, so, oh man, I feel like if we get into Troopers, we're just gonna go off the deep end.
We'll just have some honorable mentions in there.
All right, let's keep as many hats in a row as we can, and then we'll get to helmets eventually.
Let's pepper them in there.
All right, go ahead. Your favorite clone trooper hat / helmet. Your favorite, go.
Absolute favorite?
Absolute number one.
I don't know. Shoot, they're so cool. I don't know. I used to not like the Phase 1, Episode 2 clone helmets, and then as I get older, I'm like, those are pretty sweet.
I think I prefer the Phase 1 to the Phase 2.
I don't know. It's just, I like them both. I love them each like they're my own. I think the Clone Commander helmets from Episode 3 are very cool. They got the built-in visors.
The Cody?
Yeah. We were talking
like Fox and Thorn and some of those other characters from Clone Wars have that as well.
They got that cool visor. I think that's sweet.
Which I really appreciate because my eyes are so sensitive to light.
Right. Well, and when I was watching it, I was like, they got to have their eyes covered so they can watch the Order 66 holograms.
That's the whole reason.
That's the whole reason. In my mind, I was like, got to keep those eyes shaded, baby. Got to know when it's time to light up the Jedi. That's straight where my mind went. Practical function.
I haven't been able to look up for a couple of years for this moment.
He's like... Exactly. It's the most important. If you can't survive a little of this in the war, how are you going to beat a Jedi, son?
You know what's crazy is that I think Order 65 is that the Chancellor...
Everybody take a nap.
I think Order 65 was that the Chancellor has taken control and needs to be removed via martial law. You gotta look that up.
Okay.
I think it is.
I think another cool clone helmet is the Clone Trooper Marine. You see them in Battlefront 2, 2005 a lot. They're the guys that have the Gatling gun that takes forever to warm up, but then they shoot for days until they overheat, and then you're stuck. Not a very practical character to play as, but it's got a very cool helmet.
Yeah. In Episode 3, when Order 66 takes place, you've got... obviously the first one you see is Cody gets the message. Mm-hmm. And then you just start going across the galaxy and seeing all your favorite heroes get killed like that. And,
R.I.P. Plo Koon.
Yeah, man. You know what? I'm not for Disney redoing the prequels at all. But if they did, I think that scene would be better. Like, they could just make it crazier nowadays with technology and stuff. But I would say that... so, the Galactic Marine, for those of you who are trying to visualize... you have a Jedi named Ki-Adi-Mundi, and he's the guy that's got like the cone head look. Our dad calls him Christmas tree head, and so
he's the one who's very preoccupied with
the droid attack on the Wookiees. So he's running, and he's like, "Come on!"
It's imperative we send it. What does he say?
I don't remember. Back to my
attack
point.
Group there immediately.
So it's a really cool shot because he's like, "Come on, let's go," and you see. The angle is like if your camera's on the floor of whatever walkway they're on, and you see all the the footsteps they're going, and then they just kind of stop, and you see them kind of. It's kind of like when you see somebody come up to a plate, to play baseball. To
they're squaring up.
They're like squaring up, and you're like, oh my god, it's happening. And then you look up, and there's the Galactic Marines, and they're just like, and just take him out. It sucks. To his credit, he blocks a good number of those bolts before he gets hit.
He's there for a solid second and a half.
Yeah, which, when there's 40 or 50 guys shooting at you...
Pretty good.
Making it for a second and a half is...
Holding the record.
Yeah. All right, so you said Clone Commanders
I think those are really
and Galactic
cool.
Marines. You know what helmet is underrated? He is the commander of the Galactic Marines, Commander Becerra. He's got, I remember as a kid...
It's very...
It's so unique.
Wide at the base.
Yeah.
You don't see those a lot.
It's like you got two giant gray Doritos right here that are just taking up, it looks like it would be very cumbersome, but I remember as a kid when the Revenge of the Sith toys came out, I wanted a clone trooper, I wanted, all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. When I saw that Commander Becerra, I was like, there's something special about this one. And I really, really loved that one. So that's probably one of my favorite clone helmets.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Moving back to hats. This was one of my favorite all-time Jedi. Dude, eventually we'll do all-time favorite Jedi and Sith lists. And that'll be sick. But one of my favorite all-time Jedi, and also one of my favorite species that we talked about a couple weeks ago, the Whippets. Mm-hmm. You have Crook, that I mentioned. And in the old Legacy comics, like I said, Crook lived for freaking forever. And he's actually training... Cade Skywalker, which is Luke's either grandson or great-grandson, I can't remember, but it's like 100 years after Return of the Jedi, so I'm assuming it's his great-grandson. No, it's got to be his great-grandson, because his dad's name is not Ben, which is Luke's son's name, so it's got to be his great-grandson. And Crook shows up in a vision or something, or I can't remember, but anyways, he shows up, and he's this giant, huge... wildebeest, warthog-looking Jedi. He's been around for a couple hundred years. And he's got a freaking Kung Fu Panda... I don't know what you call that.
I don't know what it's called either, but everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. One of those ninja hats, Is that it?
No,
I don't know what it's called.
I don't know what it's called.
But you know, the Kung Fu Panda style Chinese.
Yeah, it's the sombrero of the Orient.
That is what it's called, everyone, and you can't say anything else. He's got a sombrero of the Orient.
Find a fault in my logic.
No, it was
you.
perfect. I'm changing it. I'm changing my names. But that's a really cool hat. I remember when the toy came out, because one thing that they used to really be great about is that when you would have a character from a book or for a comic series, Hasbro was releasing toys for those guys. Come on, keep up with us. And so they had the Legacy Collection, so you got a Jason Solo, a Jaina Solo, and then you had Crook. And I remember being so ticked when I finally got my, Crook figure.
No helmet.
He didn't have the straw hat. And I was like, yo, what's with this, dog? But yeah, that's one of my favorite hats. Can it be said that the TP decoration on Dengar's head is a hat?
Yeah, it's a lid, man.
I like it.
I like the mummy look.
The mummy look, yeah. I don't know what the canon reason is for him being hurt, but back in the day, him and Han Solo were the number 1 and number 2 street racers, like Fast and the Furious style, on Corellia, and Han cuts Dengar off, right? And Dengar gets really hurt, and those are actually like bandages because he's got like, I guess, lifelong burns.
Oh my gosh!
And so
he's
that
trying
whole
to get
outfit
a regional manager's position at a local paper company, where he recently accidentally shot a gun in the office, and he can't be the manager anymore, so he had to change his identity.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. I couldn't follow your path. But yeah, so those are to protect him because he was hurt, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Dengar's paper towels. That's one of my favorites. I really like Rey's get-up.
I like the concept of Jedi and Sith hoods.
Yes.
Number 1 for me is probably the Jedi Temple
guard,
but it was the ceremonial robes from Force Unleashed, the first one. He had like the cool, it was like, white on white. He had the cool, like, sashes, I don't know, freaking coming out of his sleeves. It just looked really comfy. I don't know. It's a very cool look. I think that's something worth mentioning.
I'm going to look that one up. I know what it looks like, but for pictures later. Here's a deep cut. Okay, I was really proud that I remembered this. One of my favorite hats from Star Wars is Tebow the Ewok, Black Ewok, and on top of his head, he has a freaking skull. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do.
They just announced a Black Series figure for him. And when they already made the smaller version, the version I collect, and that's like, obviously Wicket is the Ewok everybody knows, but then freaking Tebow's got some kind of freaking skull on his head, and that's always fascinated me. I've always loved that.
Yeah, actually, that's another Ewok. Killed him.
Is it really?
No.
I was like, I was impressed.
They were gonna eat, freaking Han and Luke. It wouldn't surprise me, little cannibals.
You know what I don't get? I don't get that George Lucas was going to have Endor originally be Kashyyyk, and he was going to have, instead of Ewoks, a forest full of Wookiees to help defeat the Empire.
And he's like, you know what, that would be too easy.
He was like, you know what, it'd probably be better if those bears, little bears, tiny bears, Teddy Grahams. That's the one we want. All different shapes and sizes.
Nancy, can you go out and give me some Teddy Grahams? I'm hungry now.
And a soda, please. By please, I mean now. I'm a billionaire in need.
None of that 7-Up crap. I want Sprite.
And if they say a Sierra Mist okay, the answer is no. That's my George Lucas. He's probably much nicer than we're portraying him.
He's one of my lifelong heroes. George, if by some small miracle you happen to watch this,
we love you. Dude, I would lose my marbles.
So a thought that I had.
Okay.
Lobot.
Lobot. Oh yeah, that is a headpiece.
That is a headpiece.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was cool that he could like silently communicate.
Yeah, Lobot's headpiece is super cool. Cyborg.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lobot's a super cool character.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one. Plo Koon during the sandstorm where they're looking for Sifo Dyas's lightsaber. Remember? It's like a turban. I'll look it up. They're looking for the crash site of Sifo Dyas.
Right, I remember the scene.
Remember he finds the lightsaber?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. It's
Super
very
cool.
similar
And he's got
to...
a very, like a big, like the Plo Koon species, the Keldor, that's not what his face actually looks like.
Yeah, they can't survive in like oxygen-rich environments.
Yeah, so that's actually a mask, and then he's got a mask on top of his mask in the sandstorm.
You know what it reminds me of is that episode where he takes Ahsoka into the underworld, or into the undergrounds in Coruscant, and he's got that cool, it's like a Jedi robe, but it looks like daggum Gucci made it. You know, it's all richly embroidered, and it's, you know, got the pretty colors.
Yeah,
It's like somewhere between a Jedi robe and those robes that Palpatine's rocking.
Dude, I was going to say one of my favorite headpieces is Palpatine's robe, because...
All right, I'm pretty sure we watched episode 9 recently. I'm pretty sure he has a change of clothes after he steals all that Force dyad energy, because it looks like he's just wearing like a black cloth. And then he's got a belt. He's got, you know, the red lining. He's got a Hugh Hefner red lining. Yeah, he's rocking it.
It's
bro.
like Shakespeare.
Yeah. I was like, change of clothes?
Dude, so...
Force clothes?
Whenever he takes their energy...
That's a new level.
...and heals himself, and he goes, "Look what you have made." That's... My voice is so high, guys. You know I can't do that. But what if he's talking about his clothes?
Right? He's like...
He's not giving them
some great silk.
Yeah, he's not talking about himself. Like he's not gonna give them that credit. He's talking about the nice sash. Look what you have made.
Nice belt.
What do you think up there, my minions? Like the new threads? This color scheme could use some blue.
Light it up.
Oh man, but I am very envious of the fact that Palpatine's hood stays there, but it doesn't go too far forward, doesn't fall back, and he can see where he's going.
Yeah.
Because...
Gotta be able to watch that Order 66 hologram.
He's gotta send it.
Hang on, I can't see.
There's the...
How do I look?
The Clone Wars figure that's like the animated style. They made a Palpatine figure, and it's like this. It's like hooded, and you can see his face. And dude, I have looked under there with a flashlight, and I can't remember if there's eyes or not. That's how impressive that hood is, dude. I'm like, all right, hold still for me. Yeah.
He's doing even better than Batman at hiding his identity, because he's got 0 people suspecting him, and there's an entire galaxy to find out. And all it took was that hood.
The Clark Kent of hoods.
Perfectly.
Okay. Okay, we got a list over here. We forgot some. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. We talked about Mandalorian, obviously. Boba Fett.
Look at that. If you can't see it, I'll put a picture.
Mandalorian is at, you know, obviously, you can't talk about lit. Oh my God. I swore to God, I was like, well, it rained pretty bad today. I don't think anybody will be out there tomorrow.
Don't worry, guys. I'll come weed whack. The louder of the things. I'll just come and blow some of the water out of the grass.
Anyway, a little realism to your life. Son of a mother. All right. Mandalorian. Yes. So we were talking, you know, you can't talk about Star Wars lids without talking about the Mandalorians, but
probably the most iconic helmet.
Has to be.
Besides Vader.
Besides Vader, who's obviously, we got to mention that real quick while it's been brought up. Darth Vader, you have a sick helmet. It's probably the design from Star Wars that's held up under scrutiny for decades. Like,
yeah,
for above all, that's the one.
I love that in episode 4, because the quality of the props and stuff wasn't as high because the revenue wasn't there yet. You can see like the imperfections, and you can see like it's almost like more matte than shiny in episode 4. And
in
I really
episode 3, that baby's a new car. It's shiny.
That was a good one.
You can brush your teeth in that thing, man. There you go.
And he does.
Well, he's got a little toothbrush attachment in the filter.
Hang on a second.
He's like, oh my God, my breath is terrible. He's got like one of those daggum. You remember those toothbrush finger sleeves they had back in the day? It was like
where's that stuff, Colgate? I'm trying to do my stuff on the go.
It was. You were like, is this working? Just shoving your finger in there. It's uncomfortable, but they sold a lot of those babies, mostly off of me, because I was like, don't have to brush my teeth in the morning. I'm in the car for a half hour on the way to school. Get it done.
Dude, I don't know what the heck we were so busy with growing up, but I was like,
I don't have time to brush my teeth.
I've got to run Zoo Tycoons,
Zoo Tycoons! Oh my god!
That's what I had to spend all my time doing. Anyway, maybe Darth Vader had a toothbrush in there. Who knows? Anyway, back to the Mandalorians.
Babu Frick's doing it. Oh, go get in now.
That's where he got his start brushing Vader's teeth, and he's learning about the electronics while he's on the inside.
Is it done?
He's like, these teeth are dead. dead. Oh, anyway.
What, you falling now by something? He obviously doesn't speak English, but I don't know what the freak he's saying.
My name Babu Frick.
My name is Babu Frick. I brush your teeth.
Good lord. Anyway.
Dude, you know who needs a freaking toothbrush? It's those daggum Moedians. It's gone.
He's like trying not to get his teeth brushed, and he's like, "It's still going through."
Speaking of teeth, can we talk about Sidious's teeth from the original Clone Wars? The 2D version?
Oh.
He was like, time to do bad.
It's like the dark side was ravaging his teeth. It's like dark side meth mouth. He was just
instead of losing
in
teeth, it's just more and more until they're just like frickin' stalactites.
I don't know. That's what happened to Rey. Did you see those daggum reptile teeth in episode 9?
Dude, that was.
I would like an explanation on that. Anyway, good lord. Back to the Mandalorians. We were watching The Mandalorian, and I saw the armor for the first time, and I was like, that Spartan helmet is sick.
Yeah.
It's probably the most unique, maybe outside of Darth Maul's contingent of Mandalorians.
I was gonna say,
which had the Sith horns.
Well,
or the
the armorers has horns too.
Right.
So I thought that was super cool.
But yeah, her
like
visor's freaking unique.
Yeah.
It's just very,
the
very,
visor's
very cool.
unique. It's freaking gold.
Right. Well, and it's fitting that the armorer of the Mandalorians
has the coolest helmet.
Yeah, has the coolest helmet.
She's like, this one's for me.
As it should be. I mean, she's putting all the work in.
Oh man, I'm dying.
All right, let's talk about some Sith helmets real quick. We'll just kind of knock them out. So
headpiece, lids.
I'm talking about something covering the face.
Okay.
Covering the face.
We're talking about anything that's on the head.
Anything on the head.
Sunglasses.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Nice sunglasses, kid.
There's nice sunglasses.
Right.
It was a nice sunglass. It was a nice monocle. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. That guy's jaw is
What
like
if he's like,
It was a nice gold tooth.
Oh, that's disgusting. Put another tooth in your mouth?
I don't know, that's what they used to do in Westerns, collect gold teeth. Do you not remember that? I remember that.
We've come a long way.
As a species, yes. Anyway, I think so. Alright, let's talk cool helmets. First of all, obviously, Kylo's up there with Darth Vader, especially in episode 9 where he's got the daggum...
The red.
The Kyber filling.
I love the description of that when you're watching the Skywalker Legacy documentary from the Rise of Skywalker home release. And it talks about there's an ancient tradition from the Orient where if they have a vase or something that's valuable to them, especially if it's been passed down, if it breaks, they don't get rid of it. They basically glue it together like Winnie the Pooh does with honey, but with gold. And so
basically the same thing.
But it was even cooler because the red popped really well.
Right.
Even though, imagine if this was freaking gold.
It doesn't fit the scheme.
Raw.
What
if he just listened to rap music once he got gold in his helmet?
Anyway,
Hang on, Ray. I'm listening to
Insert rap here.
this Black Sheep song. Is dope.
So Kylos is up there.
So let's talk respirators for a second.
Okay, Malgus.
All right, you got Malgus, you got Darth Malik, who his bottom thing was covered because Darth Revan was like, "You're not OG enough," and cut off his lower jaw.
Yeah. Well, what happened was Revan was Malik's Jedi instructor.
Yeah, counterpart.
He was his master.
They both turned to the dark side.
Yeah. And so they both turned dark, and then there's a part where Malik basically questions Revan's commitment, his hardness or whatever, and so as a response, Revan hits off his lower jaw and is like, "Put this on, it's annoying me." And so he has a freaking mask.
Yeah.
So Malchus's is a little bit cooler in my opinion because he didn't get punked into wearing it.
Yeah. Well, and then his face is jacked up. Mm-hmm. It talks about that in that particular novel.
Deceived.
Yeah. And then
by Paul S. Kemp.
Another version of the Sith respirator. I've never seen it visualized very well, but Plagueis. In the Plagueis novel, there's an attempt on his life, and he makes it out of there, but he has to wear a respirator, and so that's kind of holding his jaw together and everything like that. But he's immune, so it looks kind of cool. Almost like the Techno Union.
Right.
Freaking
dial-up chest guy.
Yeah.
Wat Tambor.
Also, he looks like Dagum Zurg. He's just like kind of rolling around.
Destroy Galactic Republic. Doop, 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 doop. Okay, so Sith helmets. My favorite
Not
growing
today,
up.
Wat Tambor.
I'm gonna play ball with my dad. My favorite growing up was Darth Nihilus.
Dude, you see it on the KOTOR cover.
Yeah.
Freaking sick.
This guy, he's called the Lord of Hunger. Because back in the day, Sith were like the Lord of this, the Lord of this. You had Darth Sion, who was the Lord of Pain, who literally was a dead body, whose body looked like a freaking desert with cracks going through it, and like just pure hate kept him alive.
It's like that guy from Hellboy.
Yeah.
It's a Nazi made of sand.
And so, that guy?
Yeah.
Why has everybody got a freaking microwave thing on there? An old school timer on their chest.
Where else are you going to put it?
Here? Belly button would be hilarious. All right.
I think the thing
what does he dial that thing for? The Hellboy guy.
I think it's like kind of his heart. Sorry. I think it's kind of his heart. Like it just kind of keeps things going.
So he just has to turn it like 6 times or?
Yeah, I have to watch.
Not by my watch. All right, so
Twisty.
But Darth Nihilus. So back in the day, Sith Lords had like names to them, and so this guy, Darth Nihilus, the Lord of Hunger. The reason that he is called that is because he was known to suck the life force. So imagine what Palpatine does to Rey and Kylo in Episode 9, times I don't know, 5 or 10 billion people. The fact that he got killed by anyone is just a fallacy to me. Because he could suck the life force out of an entire planet. Right. That's ridiculous.
Well, and you see the original Emperor as well.
Lord Vitiate?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. He does that as well. But that was like, as a kid, that was like his experiment. And so he sucked the whole life force out of an entire planet, all the inhabitants. And people go there and they're like, I don't like it here. Because there's literally no life left.
Yeah,
there's no presence in the force. It's like a void.
So, Nihilus is up there for me.
You can't not talk about Revan.
You can't not talk about Revan.
Yeah.
Iconic mask.
Right up there with the Mandalorians. Kind of a cool statement as well, because
that was Mandalore's helmet. Right. Is that correct?
Yeah. And so he was
So you got Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, basically he destroyed the Mandos as they existed basically in that point, and they became kind of like a...
That was their fall from grace.
Yeah.
And in Mandalorian, the TV show we have now...
stick it to you, he's like, now I'm even better.
Yeah,
I'm going to take all their helmet. That's so sick.
Yeah, and in the new show, The Mandalorian, the Disney Plus show, you see them kind of in hiding because they've had the Imperial Remnant attack them and stuff like that. Or the Empire, the Great Purge they talk about throughout the show. Hopefully we get a little more history on that during Season 2. But Revan did that. He was the original, bombardment.
Yeah, that was sick.
Here's a great, but also very deadly piece of headgear. Darth Bane's Orbalisk armor.
Yeah. But so a mask to keep the Orbalisk from taking over his face.
Right. So you've got...
I think it wasn't Revan who designed that. But he found it on a holocron somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, he found a holocron with the secret designs to keep the Orbalisk from taking over his face.
So you've got these. I kind of picture them like horseshoe crabs.
Yeah.
And they're called obelisks, and they attach themselves and they kind of leech.
They feed on
life
force
from
energy. Yeah.
But the thing that Darth Bane learned is that
it's like a symbiotic relationship.
They protect him, and if someone hits him with the lightsaber or a force
he
type
heals
of energy,
instantly. Basically,
it heals him, and it's kind of like they're constantly leeching life from him. But if
they're also putting like different to use I can't think of a less gross word, fluids back into a system, but it causes like adrenaline to start rushing, or just things that'll increase his ability to produce dark side energy, so that they get stronger and he gets stronger. They like ravage his body. Yeah. But it makes him pretty much unstoppable because they're impervious to lightsabers. Yeah. So he's just completely covered.
When force energy is latched onto them, they soak it up. Yeah. So it's kind of like, hey, we'll protect you. But while they're protecting, they're actually eating in a way. But if they covered up his face, he would suffocate and die. Yeah. And so he creates this mask that goes on.
Basically a cage that he wears over his face.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah. And so he's an ancient Sith. Another ancient Sith that I really like that we don't know as much about is Darth Andedu. And
you hear a lot about him. He was the one who, well, not a lot, but in the Bane series, you hear a lot about him. He was the guy who basically unlocked essence transfer.
Yeah. And so by the time he's like...
I think he ruled on his planet for like 600 years.
Yeah. The picture of him that we'll put in the video is his body looks like a human body, but he's so old or whatever that his face is just a skeleton with like red dots for eyes, like freaking Skeletor. Yeah. And his head is very much like an ancient Babylonian or like ancient like, you know, Persian like freaking helmet thing. It's like this tall. It's like Abraham Lincoln with sideburns, but it's one hat.
Yeah, it's like a pharaoh headpiece almost.
Yeah, super cool. So the Sith are just full of cool hats. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other helmets and stuff that we thought of.
Picture like the kind of life that Andedu lived. If you're a Marvel fan, think of Apocalypse. You know, he's just moving his life on and gathering more power as he goes.
Yeah. There's some of these characters that I like their stories, and I'm glad that we still have them in Legends. Like, that's the thing I don't get. Like, people legitimately freak out that they're made Legends now, but it's not like they burned the books.
Right.
Like, you can still read the stories.
Yeah.
But I think
them yourself.
I think it's good for Star Wars as a whole that we filter in believable things. Right. Because it's like when you think about Darth Nihilus, a guy that can eat a planet, like not like freaking eat it with his mouth, but like he sucks up the life force and it just kills it.
Which is freaking cool.
Similar to like, you know, in Episode 7, Starkiller Base is sucking the life out of that sun, and then it collapses and they use that energy to shoot a beam. Imagine that.
But a person.
But a person is the one consuming that energy.
Freaking
to me,
crazy.
Super cool, but how do you write a book or have a movie or a video game even?
Where do you go from that?
Where do you go from there? Like, it kind of makes Palpatine, who is obviously the most powerful character in canon as of now, it kind of makes him look like a punk. Yeah. You know, like, this guy can eat a whole planet, but you get thrown down an elevator. You know, it's just like... And how does somebody beat that? Yeah. Like, whenever you have it and it's like, these two characters ganged up on Darth Nihilus, I'd be like, I could give two freaks if it was a city of 10 million people. He just ate a planet. Right. So, I do like that they're pulling it back, and as we see things, it'll be better. Right.
More helmets. I think Second Sisters is very cool. Yeah.
And I think that she has something similar to what the girl from Rebels has. Second sister? Second is Jedi?
No.
What's the one you just said?
Second sister is the one that you see in...
So maybe seventh sister is the girl from Rebels? I think the helmets are the same though.
Yeah, they're very similar. They look somewhere between like an Imperial gunner and the shape of, you know, the top, somewhere near like, I don't know, it's just like a hybrid of a bunch of different stuff. Very cool. Can't not talk about the Knights of Ren. Every single one of them has a sick helmet.
And I'm sick of y'all hating on the Knights of Ren.
Especially Ren's helmet. You never see it in the movies, but you see it in the comics. Very cool helmet.
Very Avatar Last Airbender looking.
It reminds me of Zero from Borderlands. He's got like the completely blank faceplate. I guess there's a heads-up display, so he's not actually blind. That's freaking cool.
I've got a good one.
Let's throw some honorable mentions to Phasma and Cardinal from the Phasma novel. Basically, the first ever Stormtrooper to have pure red armor, Cardinal. I wish he would have gotten more love somewhere else besides Phasma's novel, because he just gets punked that whole time, and he's a very cool character. Cool factoid from the Phasma novel: Phasma's armor is actually made from the remnants of one of Palpatine's wrecked Naboo cruisers. That's why it's got that metal sheen. She wanted to be set apart.
And you were saying earlier how heavy.
Oh yeah, I was like, dude, that's like it's made out of a freaking spaceship.
Yeah.
You know, it's not made for it to be human worn.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna
resistant
be
to
heavy.
the sun from a close distance, but also light.
Light and fluffy.
Fluffy. I've got a good one. Dirge.
Ooh. Yes,
That's a
very
deep
cool.
cut for you guys, old school Star Wars fans.
Yeah, somewhere between like Gladiator and Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You know, it's got
so
kind of the...
he hated the Mandos.
Yeah.
But he has a Mandalorian symbol on him. This is when Star Wars was at its, like, we're putting out a ton of content, but some of it doesn't make sense. But Dirge was a, I forget the species.
I just kind of think of it as...
but he's got, like, a dadgum cool helmet.
Yeah, I think of it kind of like Revan, where, you know, he beat them all, and now he's just going to, like, insult them by wearing their stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Kind of like a headhunter.
I mean, his whole freaking chest is a giant mythosaur skull.
Yeah.
So, those are really cool. I'm going to see your list real quick.
I think we pretty much covered it.
We covered Malgus, Revan, Hylas, Kylo Vader.
We haven't really talked about
here?
Stormtroopers. I was thinking about the initial Rebel helmets that you see.
The
first
Macquarie
ever.
concept?
Mm-hmm. I think those are cool.
Those are cool.
I mean, they don't look practical at all, but it's like, that's vintage Star Wars. I think one that should definitely be talked about and get a little more love is that Sith Flame Trooper that you see in Episode 9 very briefly in the last battle. That dude looks dope.
When he comes through those flames and
Yes.
he's like...
Oh my god, that is so cool.
Sith Jet Trooper.
He's still got the flames.
He comes through the flames. He doesn't shoot flames.
Frick it, I don't care. He's got a cool helmet.
He does that really cool helmet.
He has a cool helmet.
I wish that the Sith Troopers would have looked different. I get that they're red.
Right.
But I did like the red helmet. Man, there's so much stuff out there. So many hats. So many hats.
Yeah, but those are our favorites.
Those are our favorites.
They're the best ones.
One cool thing is I love the Kanan's blind faceplate
the blast
thing.
shield.
Why does it have the same symbols on it as Rex's helmet, which were originally on the concept for Boba Fett's helmet?
For the Republic.
That's why. Now we know. So those are all cool. You know what? We never saw Dooku wearing a hat.
It's got nice hair.
Yeah. Christopher Lee's like, don't need it. No, thank you.
Swords, please.
Swords, please. You know, you guys at home, Christopher Lee has a heavy metal Christmas album. And if you haven't listened to it, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because it's Christopher Lee singing and screaming and playing death metal. I'm not even kidding you. It's like, and he's like, Silent Night. It's dope. It's Christopher Lee, who is like Dracula, Saruman, Count Dooku. I think he's Sherlock Holmes at one point.
You don't even need more than that. That's already a stacked roster.
Yeah. He's a freaking... I think he was a knight. I think it was Sir Christopher Lee.
Sir Christopher Lee.
And he has a freaking death metal Christmas album.
But no hats.
You're welcome. But no hats. So, yeah.
Not even as a wizard in Lord of the Rings. No hats.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yeah.
We should have known. But that hair, though, was on point. Remember how disgusting his nails were?
Gross.
Whew. All right. Well, we're getting to Lord of the Rings now, so it's time to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been Star Wars Lids with us from the Chiss Ascendancy. Please leave us a like. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and sign up for notifications. And tell your friends about this because we've all got a ton of time in our hands right now, right? So thank you guys so much for tuning in. May the Force be with you always.
And remember, the only family you have here is me.
See you guys.